Good afternoon. This is Les Sillers, and I spoke earlier today with Christine Olmstead, who is one of our journalism alumna, and she is now making her living as an artist. And she came into my office to talk a little bit about how that's going and how she got started.
I was privately trained
Okay.
through several different artists growing up, and then my mom also was an art history major at UCLA, and so I was homeschooled growing up. Art education was a big part of our curriculum as well. So no prestigious institution, but lots of different training paths.
Okay. All right. So you were about to explain to me before I so rudely cut you off and turned on the recorder why you decided to get into art, and then you're going to explain this image for me.
Yeah. So when I came to PHC, I had done speech and debate all through high school, had thought and been encouraged to do something like law, and I'd been painting my whole life with my mom and taken oil classes as well as charcoal and pencil, hyperrealism, that type of art mostly, and I got to PHC and I really enjoyed my experience, but when I was here, I think I enjoyed layout class. That was one of my favorite classes. I loved just like the creation of it and using the programs. That was really fun to me, and the more I thought about going to law school, because I thought I would maybe be a broadcast journalist, speech and debate. I love presentations, I love being with people, I love communication as well. But the more I thought about it, the more depressed it made me. The thought of not only going to law school, but also being a broadcast journalist really depressed me, the idea of it. I do like to write, but I liked doing other things more, and so when I graduated, it was like a deep dive of how do I want to live my life, and I think that's what PHC also teaches you. I think the biggest takeaway from all of the classes was, what kind of person do you want to be? How do you want to live in the world? I feel like that's the overarching philosophy or idea that the classes lead you to. And so I thought about what I want every day to look like, and how do I want to live my life, and what do I want it to look like, and how do I want to contribute?
No, but I'd like you to tell me how you use art to try and say something. Any kind of an art is an attempt to take what you see in the world and help other people see that.
Yeah.
Right? That you've seen something, you felt something, and you want other people to see it or feel it too.
Yeah.
So how do you do that with the kind of art that you do?
Yeah, so that's, I think, a philosophical question, and that's the underlying message, an idea, and movement behind all of my pieces, not just this one, is my goal for all of my viewers, all of my collectors, is I want them to see my work of art and recognize that there is a beauty still left in the world, that they can seek it, they can make it, and they can spread it, and that all of this is a choice. And so that's basically the simple goal, is choosing, no matter where you are in life, no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, choosing to find the beauty and choosing to extract the bits that are beautiful or peaceful or lovely and sharing them. This piece in particular, I made it in the fall of 2015.
Okay.
I was going through, most of my pieces are selfishly therapeutic for me, but they're also me working out things in my own life. I was going through a particularly difficult family struggle. It was me thinking about my childhood a lot and thinking a lot about where I grew up and just processing. And oftentimes when I paint, there's thought put into where do I want the focal points to be, and what is my color palette going to be. Those are all decisions usually I've made beforehand. The mood that I'm trying to evoke, or the memory that I'm painting, if you will, usually just sort of moves through me. So this piece in particular was inspired by growing up in northern Idaho, and this was like a winter scene in my mind of the feeling of what it felt like to grow up among these majestic mountains, and digging through my childhood a little bit in the mountains and the snow and the cold, and what was it like teasing out some of my past, and this expressed itself in particularly the color palette and the mood that I felt as growing up there. So that's where this piece came from. All of them are pretty different. Each collection or series is usually a mood, a memory, an idea. And obviously not everybody has that connection to it the way I do. And I wouldn't, I usually explain what it was, but I'm hoping that people can see their own beauty in it and ascribe some meaning to it themselves, if you will. Oftentimes they do, and it's really fun for me to hear what other people see or get out of a particular piece, because it's obviously nothing like what my experience was, but I think that that's what's kind of cool and unifying.
And I'm really interested to hear the mood that you had in mind when you did this, because I had a similar response as to what you were trying for, I think, because I grew up in a place with mountains and snow,
Canada.
lots of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like. And so it's got those the grays and mixed with the dark patches. When I was younger, I so often recall standing, outside somewhere. It's not in the city, right? It's in the country, or it's in the mountains, or I'm skiing in the Rockies or something.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and the snow is falling, and it's really quiet.
Yeah, and there's darkness.
And there's darkness. There's shadows in the distance that you can't really see, but there's an immediacy to the snow.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a pensive feeling.
Yes.
On the
a
one
little
hand.
bit melancholy, maybe.
Yes, absolutely tinged with melancholy.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm a little bit prone to, not exactly melancholy, but certainly nostalgia.
Oh, I
Yeah.
do so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
And so when I see this image, it's got the dark patches that remind me of the mountains in the distance and the rocks and and things, but the snow, the grays in the snow, it's just like that reminds me of something, but I wasn't quite sure what until we had this conversation.
Yeah, the exact memory that this came from was, there's a particular moment in my childhood when I was probably 6 years old, and we were driving to Banff as a family to go skiing, and I was in the backseat of the car laying down, and it was snowing outside the window, and it was dark. And the sky was, one of these dark blue colors, and there were, millions of stars, and it was snowing, and I kind of leaned up and, turned around and looked out the window and, saw some glorious mountainscape, and it was snowing, and there was the sky, and so it was actually, in Canada.
There you go. There you go.
But
how appropriate. No wonder I like this one.
That memory, I don't know why that sticks out so much, but it just felt like, yeah, I would describe my childhood as a very pensive, melancholy, I was a real thoughtful kid, very in my own head. And so, yeah, that's where that memory came from. But it's funny because it was in the car,
Interesting.
And the silence and the heaviness and the weight and the majesty and all of it. But yeah, that's where it came from.
Christine Olmstead, thank you for explaining this to us, and thank you for the donation to my office. It's very kind of you.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it very much. It's great to have you back.